This podcast is not affiliated with any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous antics and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and should be dismissed immediately.
Hello and welcome to episode 40 of Studio 357 Masonic Podcast. Let me get up to the microphone here.
Oh, we can hear you now. Maybe you should step back away from the microphone.
Yeah, you probably should. Or I should. You know you should too.
I probably should. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. As usual, we'll do a quick shout out to our show sponsors, Homeward Handyman Services, BricksMasons.com, the Insurance Center, Corporal Dagan Page Foundation, and of course our Patreon supporters, who we would not have a show without you.
Well done.
That was a mouthful. That's it.
All right, show over.
No, show's not over. That's just it for the sponsors.
Okay.
What have we been up to, Scooter?
Well, since the one we recorded last week doesn't come out till after this, we went to Nashville.
We did go to Nashville.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yep. Okay, that was good. We went to Nashville. Oh, as Tyler's holding up, we went to the bootshine store, which was fun.
Very fun.
You know they allow you 6 sample shots?
At one time?
Each trip into the store.
Okay.
So you can, no, I don't think you can do 6 and then take a lap around the mall and do it again. They did have 2.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge to me. I bet I can.
They did have 2 moonshine stores though.
Yeah.
Didn't we just see you?
They also have a hot sauce store.
Ooh,
That
don't
is-
mix them up.
That was much of the same premise. You can go around and sample spoonfuls of hot sauce.
Oh, it was really good. We
The guy says, "Oh, you got to start with this one and work your way up to that one," and I did
yeah.
once.
Once.
Yeah, that's probably what I've been up to. Coming back to work for a week. You know, I only get 2 days off this time, and then I have to go back to work again
Oh.
instead of 9 days off.
Yeah.
That sucks. Jim, what have you been up to?
Since we met last time, well, we didn't talk about it in the last episode, but last Friday, a week ago from today, my youngest got married. So we grew the family.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Awesome.
It was exciting. It was a really good time. Had a lot of fun. But yeah, and since then I've been on vacation. So I haven't done anything since then.
So vacation at home?
Vacation at home. No, I think I might have left the house a couple times to get parts to work on projects around the house. Otherwise, we didn't even leave the house.
Sounds like a glorious vacation.
It was
Sounds amazing.
All right, and the voice you hear and the guy you see between Jim and myself is Tyler Goodman, the SAMSAR of Tangier Shrine.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. This is awesome. Congratulations, 40th episode. I like a nice round number, so that's kind of cool. So
okay. Since I'm not a Shriner, what's a SAMSAR?
that's a great question because that's probably the most frequent question I get. Because on my fez it also does say SAMSAR. So SAMSAR is just one of the appointed offices within Tangier. Not every shrine has the same titles outside of the divan, and what that is, it's basically it's the membership guy. So working with the membership committee, being the committee chairman, that's the title a lot of shrine centers will use. So, but that they called it SAMSAR for as long as I can remember. So it's kind of like, oh, so that's actually a pretty nice little talking point, because people obviously see the fezzes and stuff, and they ask if we're old guys driving small cars. And there's some truth and validity to that, right?
There's a little bit.
But then they ask what the title is. So, well, just work with the membership folks and try to answer some questions and point people in the right direction. So that's it in a nutshell. Gets a lot of funny looks.
There's a lot more to us than little cars and funny hats.
Absolutely.
We also drive bigger cars and regular hats.
Yep, and then we've got Tony's over there, and the folks with the Cruise and Cushion team out here. So, probably the most comfiest ride in the parades.
Yeah.
With all the stuff. But yeah,
there are worse ways to parade.
Oh yeah, there definitely are. But yeah, no, it's just it's just part of it. When you peel back the little layers of the onions, there's just so much to the fraternity. I know we'll kind of hit on some of that stuff as we go along, but
So what have you been up to in the last couple of weeks?
Well, that's a good question. Just working. I mean, still working, doing that kind of a thing. Tracy, my beloved young little bride over there. We've got some plans, for some outdoor type stuff around the house. Some of those little things, but outside of that, it's just the usual, just working. Looking forward to the short week next week for the Independence Day celebrations, and just kind of spend some time with family. Relax a little bit.
All right, Jim. Why don't you jump us into the questions?
All right, Tyler, what lodge do you belong to, and how long have you been a Mason?
Well, so I belong to Ms. Paul Lodge 302 up there in Omaha, and I have been a Mason now for 26 years. This is my 26th year. Very proud of that. I originally was raised up as a Master Mason in Waterloo Lodge, 102 down in Elkhorn. And I'll be able to explain that here in a little bit, and the little bit of a change. So been with Miss Paul since about 2001. Started at Waterloo in 1999. So it's been an interesting journey along the way. So
yeah, we're big fans of Mitzpah here. I talk about them all the time.
Oh yeah,
great group of guys.
Yeah, a couple of questions you got ahead there about what the lodges are doing. Yeah, I mean they've just been doing some fantastic things out there.
Yeah, Patrick Smith did it. Well, and
Patrick was here not too long
Terry's
ago.
doing a great job now. And
Yeah.
Patrick, in my eyes, Patrick did a great job last year.
I think great times 10. By all means, yeah, he's fabulous master. So good job, Patrick.
And I do. He has actually been one of our fans from the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, he's pushed for this. I mean, and he asked me. He said, "Hey, have you gone out there?" I said, "Well, I haven't been asked yet." But I think something like this is important for the fraternity, and that's all the appended bodies and everything, and just getting the message out there in a nice informal way, and people hopefully can relate to that. Some guys sitting around, some brothers sitting around, having a beverage and chit-chatting about what we do on the side.
That's what I do best. Sit around with my brothers and chit-chat and drink. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you're listening or watching and you are interested in being a guest, don't wait for us to ask you.
Yeah.
If anything as a Mason, you should have learned that you can't wait for somebody to ask you.
Well, I think we call it the speed of masonry, right?
That's right.
So it just kind of takes its sweet time. But yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, you've been on my radar for a long time, and I just have to get around. There's only so many spots. Like right now, we're booked through the end of the year.
Yeah, no. So we've been communicating for a while. So again, I absolutely appreciate the opportunity. This is really neat. Looking forward to it. I've watched some of the other podcasts, and again, I just think this is a real grassroots level way to get things out there. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Hopefully, we get some non-Masons that watch too.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that way they can find out, all the secrets,
right.
where the national treasure is buried, what's under the Denver airport, and who is really a 99.6 degree Mason. So those are the important questions we might answer tonight, so hang on.
So my guilty pleasure is I play Call of Duty when I get off of work. It's like my decompression. And I have a Masonic name, and I was talking with a friend I play with all the time on there, who is a Mason. And he's like, "Oh, you guys are talking Freemason stuff." He's like, "That all-seeing eye, that means you're always watching us, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what that means."
Sure.
The amount of ridiculous.
It's fun actually, because that's another common thing that people will talk about.
Yeah.
Hey, so I hear this, or is this true, or is Nicolas Cage still looking for that treasure, right, from the movie and stuff? And I said, well, if I found it, I'd be good, because I'd be retired, and Tracy and I would probably be on a cruise somewhere right about now. So,
yep.
But yeah, it makes what's also nice is like with the hat or the fez with the weird name on it. It's that little initial starter that gets people talking, because there's a bazillion rumors out there, and some people just like to talk about it. So it's pretty fun.
For your information, we do plan on taking over the world right after we figure out how much to charge for a raffle ticket.
Oh, good Lord, yes. That and what style of beans to have
Green beans,
at the meal.
Well, we got to decide what time the meal starts before we can decide the green beans, before we can decide how much the raffle ticket. We'll get there. We're going to get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah. See how we kind of went off the rails right there?
Absolutely. Hey, that's perfect.
No, you'll get used to it.
Oh, very good.
All right, so we know you're in the shrine,
Yep.
but what other appendant bodies do you belong to?
So when I joined the shrine, when I joined Freemasonry, I've always had my sights set on being a Shriner because I'm a legacy. My grandfather, John Ziegler, was a Shrine, Scottish Rite Mason from over in Iowa, in Des Moines, member of Zigazig Shrine over there in Auburn Lodge. And he was also a member of the Scottish Rite. So when I came in 1999, in order to become a Shriner, you had to be a member of either of the rites, either the Scottish Rite or the York Rite. And since my grandfather took the Scottish Rite route, I took that route first. So I'm still a member there. I also went through the degrees with the York Rite, which was pretty cool. I did that later on. But I'm not as active in those just because of the timing during the week. Because a lot of this, and also like with my home lodge, we'll talk a little more about that, I'm sure. But where some of my responsibilities at the shrine kind of hit on Wednesdays. That's for those that don't know, there's always something going on within the fraternity in the Omaha area. We're really lucky because we've got such a big network, so much going on. So it's pretty awesome. So I've kind of had to step back from those, while I do a lot of the shrine related tasks. So I'm a member of Ms. Paul, and then of course the Scottish and York Rites, and then the shrine.
Yeah, Heath and I and Jim were all in the same Scottish Rite class.
Oh, nice.
Last fall. And then we did the 5th degree in the spring reunion.
Yeah, all the degree work that they all put on, especially over at the Scottish Rite, up in the theater. It parallels some professional plays and stuff like that. Actual theater work. So it was always pretty neat when we
You
did
didn't
that.
see the 5th degree this year.
Hey, if the candidates don't know what's going on, it looked great.
Well,
So
the
that's fine.
good thing is they hadn't done it in 27 years, so nobody knew what it was supposed to look like. So it was amazing. We got
there was
great
It was
reviews.
the best one ever.
There was like 2 or 3 people in the whole building that had seen the 5th degree before.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What do you do? Like, do you hold any positions or anything in your home lodge?
So I am a past master of Miss Paul Lodge. I was the master of the lodge in 2013. Very proud to be a past master. And then before that, I went through all of the chairs, and I've actually gone through some of the chairs twice because when I joined Waterloo Lodge, I got started in the chairs there. Got up to senior deacon, so I've kind of worn those caps a couple, 3 times, and then. That was about the time that I transferred over to Ms. Paul Lodge. Now, of course, shortly towards the end of 2001, a pretty significant thing happened in America and the world. And I'm retired Air Force. So of course, I'd gone places before that, but once 2001 hit and September 11th and everything following, I wasn't around too much for a while. I kind of put those things a little bit on the hold, and then once things kind of settled down at least a little bit, I was able to get back into the lodge as much as I could. So went through the chairs, and then again very proudly had an opportunity to be the Master Lodge in 2013, and then I got to be Tyler the Tyler. So that's one of the offices there that kind of keeps track on folks coming in. So that was always kind of fun, right? What do you do? I'm Tyler. Well, I know. What do you do? I'm the Tyler. Okay. What do you mean? I'm the Tyler.
What should I call you, Tyler?
You can call me Tyler. It works. So I helped out there, and did some of the degree or whatever. But then I started getting in my role at Tangier with membership and stuff like that. So Ms. Pa meets on Wednesday. So obviously I don't get the opportunity to be back as much as we can. But yeah, so that's.
I was just going to throw in that they may not be the oldest lodge in the state of Nebraska, Joe, but Mitzpah's got a proud history that they have not repeated a master
Correct.
all the way through.
Correct. And as far as proficiency work as well, it's creeping up into the 80s now or something like that, continuous years being proficient from the Grand Lodge. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
They're doing some impressive stuff there.
Oh, God, yeah. They're doing great.
We're proficient at opening and closing-ish. Proficient-ish.
We are too, but we're working on it this year. I think we're going to get through We're going to get through all the degrees.
By the way, I need to speak to you about, well, he needs to speak to you about stuff for next year.
Oh, what are you going to be next year?
That doesn't sound good.
I'm in line to be master next year.
Oh, congratulations.
No. Oh, no.
Don't do it.
No, that'll be a great year.
Good luck. I'm master this year. Which
Yeah,
is
I
great,
knew you were, yeah. So
because I get to have my son as my senior warden. And that's
that's
kinda
pretty
cool.
awesome. That's
And
awesome.
then if all goes as planned next year, we'll both sit in the east. So that's kind of neat.
Fabulous.
Well, that took the wind out of my sails. So I'm going to be busy next year. What they're hinting at is I just got my plural membership to Beehive, so the master is already thinking of.
I was about to say, it sounds like you've already been voluntold.
I think that sounds what it's.
Just not exactly what yet, but it's
yeah,
coming.
maybe just a position. Maybe maybe one of your choice. Maybe.
One of my choice.
And then-
Oh, no, you know what? That just reminds me, these guys have been hounding on me. You got to learn how to say no.
Oh, I do. Trust me.
They're the ones that taught me to say no. I'll
Yeah,
keep that in mind.
that's the magic Masonic
That is
word
fair.
is no.
What are some of the things that you do as SAMSAR to help build membership?
Okay, well, so with that office, I get to work with an amazing membership committee, and what we do. So we're basically some of the first folks that people will get introduced to if they're interested in usually they're interested in the shrine, but then of course we get an opportunity to talk about the entire the process, but then we of course then get to talk about the fraternity as a whole and how special that is. So with that comes I do get some speaking opportunities, like at Scottish Rite, for one of the information or what we call friendship dinners. You get to do that a good bit. Set up some of I just call them like a little membership booth, some info, some flyers, a little bit of swag out there. Everybody needs a koozie, so we'll get them a koozie and a pen or something like that. But really just kind of be there and to help answer questions. You get to meet, like I said, a lot of really, really neat people. Some come with questions, the silly questions, and then some come with very direct and pointed questions because they may not necessarily agree, which, hey, this is America, and that's absolutely awesome. Yeah. And I really enjoy talking to those people as well because, hey, you give them a chance to say their piece and say, that's cool. Agree to disagree, and let's have a beer. So, so little things like that. So there's all sorts of stuff. It's like helping out with the, because, one of the areas we were going to kind of talk about too, what are some of the little hidden things. So kind of can tie those in together that people don't see. We arrange for the birthday calls. We do, send it out the emails on birthdays. So if you've ever been a Shriner and you get an email from Tangier, that was me. So, enjoy doing those. So those are those little hidden things. Some more behind the scenes as well, like when we're getting ready to do a cold sans, which is the short form for bringing a new member in. It's getting the stuff like that arranged, making sure they got like a little welcome packet, coordinating with the office, coordinate with the top line signer, coordinate with the person, coordinate with the divan. Sometimes that's real easy. Sometimes that's an absolute cluster cookie. Just because everybody's busy, right? We're all at work. I mean, I don't usually have my phone with me at work. I'll check it throughout the day, but I don't literally have it sitting there on a desk. So, I may not know we're going to do one until 4 o'clock when I'm walking out the door. It's like, oh, well, this will be a short trip home. Yeah. So things like that, and manning the info tables like at the Festival of Trees or over at the friendship dinners or out in the park in Council Bluffs or whatever. So anytime we have
past at the circus.
Yep, the circus, that was the big one. That was a lot. But again, that's fun. I mean, I've always enjoyed talking to people about our fraternity because I'm very proud of it. And it's just fun to get to see folks. Cause like sometimes when I used to do that, sometimes I'd be in my Keystone Cop gear or the Shriner stuff. So like, oh, we just saw you get pie in your face. Yeah, it was pretty good. So those are the things. So there's a lot of little hidden things that are going on behind the scenes. That again kind of take up that time because like the emails or whatever, that's every day. And if I kind of forget a couple 2, 3, 4 days, then I'll catch up and get those out as well. So that we just try to reinforce with the members, that they're valued, that their families are valued to be there. It's just not numbers and it's just not dues. I want to look way beyond that. And those are just those little things. So like when we do some of the birthday calls, those are funny because, you say, hello, oh, hey, is this Fred. Yeah, it's Fred. Hey, Fred, it's Tyler Goodman from Tangier Shrine. I paid my dues. Fred, I'm not even. Thank you. Happy birthday. What? Happy birthday. That's all you want? Yeah, happy birthday. From the Shriners. Oh, thanks. And then we'll get into a 10-minute conversation and hear about, all of his bodily function problems. But again, sometimes people just need that opportunity to chat. So that's pretty cool, So, yeah, a lot of little things that kind of get wrapped up into it.
So how many people coming up to you talking that they're interested in the shrine?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the mixture of people that are already in Blue Lodge versus the people that didn't know that you needed to be a Mason to be a Shriner? Because when I started, I didn't know there was I thought they were two separate entities.
Yeah, actually, that's great question. That's pretty common for folks not knowing the route that you have to go, right? And that surprises a few folks because they just think, oh, Shriners, I just, it's like the Eagles or, something like that. Again, great social organizations. I mean, fabulous organizations doing great things. But obviously we have a little more distinct and formal process. So that kind of catches people by surprise. And every now and then you'll come across some brothers who are members of lodges in the Omaha metro area. Of course, that includes, our Council Bluffs friends across the border. It's like, I can be a Shriner? Yeah. So, meet something like that. One member of our lodge, he'd been a Mason for, I want to say Leonard had been a Mason for about 50 years and didn't really realize that he could join the Shrine. So he joined the Shrine. Excuse me. And he's a World War II veteran, and he joined the Legion of Honor and got the opportunity to carry our nation's colors and our Shrine colors out to some varying events. So that was kind of cool. So that's kind of, he's passed, but he had a fun doing that. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a mix out there because with the commercials that you see for the Shrine hospital centers, you got Alec and Caleb. I mean, absolutely amazing commercials, and you see a lot there. You'll see somebody wearing a fez in that, so that's always good. I mean, I'm glad the message that they're getting out, trying to tie the two. But then people go, oh yeah, I saw that kid Alec. He's great. He's going to be a sportscaster, which sounds like he is. I mean, he just graduated Northwestern or something like that. That's pretty impressive. Heck of a school. So yeah, they're like, oh, the Shriners are Masons. So yeah. So you get an opportunity to kind of explain that.
How many members do we have in the area?
So in the Omaha area, total Masons, Master Masons, I want to say it's in that 9,000 to 10,000 range right now. I have not heard an accurate number this year on that. And at Tangier, we are a little under 1,600 members. So 1,500 and just under 60. So
have you noticed a trend recently, up or down?
it's been down. Yeah, it's been down, and within the fraternity, and then also you see that across a lot of organizations across our community. Not just us.
Right.
There's so much to do out there, and there's so little time, and you've got the kids are involved in a million activities. Mom and dad are working. Maybe one of them's gone back to grad school or finishing off a PhD or something. So time is really tight for people these days. So what we're seeing a little bit is a decline in membership across the board. And part of that as well is that a lot of our members that joined shortly after World War II, a lot of our World War II and Korean veterans, those numbers were just staggering high.
Yeah.
But of course, there wasn't as much to do per se. If your kids were playing sports, they're playing like one sport a season, it's Little League, and that's it. Now you got travel ball. Our three amazing daughters were all competitive cheerleaders at the national level, so they were doing a lot of stuff. So there's always time, money, and effort out there. So we're definitely seeing a decline, and usually it's folks that kind of join and then lose their way a little bit. And there's some fault on us too about that. But then it's like, oh man, my kids are busy. We've got to do this. Or the move or something like that. So we've been seeing a downward trend across the fraternity. But I'm also hearing that's the same with a lot of other service organizations because the one of the more recent stats I've heard when Tracy and I had an opportunity to go down to Tampa to the Shrine membership seminar, which was absolutely amazing. They talked about that because they had experts that talk about the generations and stuff like that, and then some of the millennials and the whatnot. And I'm not saying this is bad, millennials. This is just, it's cool, but they're not as inclined to join something on the long term. They want to help out. They want to get involved, but they want to come and help you guys with your party. They want to help you with your fundraiser for name an amazing organization, and then they want to go. Like all of us, we're in this. It's a life haul. I mean, I'm a life member. It's something that I've always enjoyed. But so that's where you're seeing some of those things bounce around.
The commitment aspect.
Yeah, and again, there's just so much going on, and I mean, in the Omaha area, we talked about it just a little bit ago. Every night there's something going on. I mean, you could never eat at home if you really wanted to, which is, obviously that's not the preferred way to go, folks. It should be a supplement to your life, not the life by no means. But there's always something going on. So it's just kind of like and part of what I do with the Shrine and even the membership period is, and anybody who's heard me talk, they'll say, I just like folks to find their niche. Because some people will join and then they think Blue Lodge is amazing. They love the ritual. They love the memory work. They love all the floor work and doing this and then learning. And, like Mizpah, they're a very educationally oriented lodge. And that's pretty awesome because those folks want to talk about a lot of the reasons why, some of the degree work is what it is. And that's fabulous. And maybe some guys just like to do that, which is cool. Some folks literally join just to become a Shriner. Or they join to become Scottish Rite because they enjoy doing the degree work, or they join York Rite because each of the main bodies and the appendant bodies all have some type of philanthropy that they are involved in. Yeah. And that's a great thing too. So, they might want to get involved in that. So if we can just find a niche for somebody, and I know somebody, I know folks, I know people, but, that just do Lodge, which is great, or just do Scottish Rite or York Rite, or they've joined so their kids can join Rainbows or Jobs, or they could join Eastern Star with their wife, which is awesome, bringing the two together. So it's just about trying to help people find that niche.
We've actually got a member of our lodge that joined because his daughter is in Jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had that at Mizpah a couple times. Guys that have joined when Mizpah used to have Job's Bethel 1 there, which was at the time still I think the oldest active Bethel in the state. But good guy joined, so his daughter could be there. So
yeah. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back, and that last question will segue right into the next one. So we'll see you back after we hear from these show sponsors.
Your one-stop Masonic marketplace. You are the hero of this journey. We want to proudly stand behind you every step of the way. We want to enable you to go the extra mile in your Masonic travels. We want you to look your very best on every occasion. Investing in high-quality regalia shouldn't be a burden. We know you want to be better. We know you want to make a difference. We don't think you should compromise. Be your best. Visit bricksmasons.com today.
And we're back from our 30-second break.
that was the longest 30 seconds of my life, but it was great. Thank you.
I'm usually good at giving a good 30 seconds. Which one is it?
There we
There
go.
we go. See, we used it.
There you go.
That was a lucky guess.
The timing was horrible. You got to work on that.
My timing is usually horrible.
It is. There we go. That's better. But now knock it off.
There you go.
Cut it out. I forgot what I was here for.
We're just chit chatting. I don't know.
You hyped up the last question that was going to go into the next question.
Since we were talking about membership,
Yes.
in your opinion, what's the like a single most important thing we can do to keep members engaged?
That is, God, that's a $1 trillion question.
Yeah.
And
I figured I'd hit you with an easy one.
oh man, that was all the way down like number 6 on the list. Oh no, 5. But you have cut a couple out, so it's still there. But no, but seriously, that is a fabulous question, and that's a key to the fraternity as a whole. So the one thing that I think is important for keeping people active and interested is to make sure that they're valued. And I don't mean valued, and again, not, you pay your dues, I mean, hey, we're happy you're here. We're happy that you're making some time. Not only are we happy that you're here, but your significant others are here. Your family is here. We want to, obviously doing some of the degree work, sure, the significant others and the kids aren't there, right? Okay, but the secrets of Masonry. But 99% of the time they can be there. They can be at Lodge for a dinner before Lodge or ice cream afterwards or, the Christmas parties or whatever. Same thing at the shrine. The majority of the time, the families can be around there and enjoying the facilities, enjoying the activities, sure, helping out here and there. Yeah, because, we do want to raise some funds to keep the doors open, right? Operational.
Everything takes work.
O&M, right? You gotta pay the bills for the halls and the walls. But it's keeping them involved by reaching out. So one thing that we're getting fired back up this year at Tangier that I'm really excited about is basically it's the new guys group, but we're going to call them the Bedouins. Okay, it's had a few other names over the years. It's had its moments and it's kind of road, but we think it's important to bring that back. So what they're going to do is they're going to keep in touch with the last couple 2 to 3 years of new nobles, make sure that they're being kept informed. Now, of course, everybody has a top line signer, so they want to work with the top line signers. They don't want to push them out of the way or anything, but they want to say, okay, hey, if you haven't joined a unit or a club, we are basically a club, but you're not going to pay a dues. We're just going to say, hey, we're going to go and help out here. You want to come and hang out? Oh, by the way, your family can come and hang out. We're going to go work down at the kitchen, but then we're just going to go upstairs and have a tasty beverage, from water to exciting or whatever. And, again, keep them involved and then, maybe help them find our club or a unit down the road that they would be interested. The cruising cushions or, the trikes, the big wheels, the cops, the clowns, you name it. So, it's a way for them to be involved, but getting the info, because, it's tough when you first come on board because you may not be getting the email blasts that are coming out. You may not get your hot sands, the monthly flyer. You may not know where to go find that electronically, off the website or something like that. So that I think is the big key because that's where, at least at the shrine wise, where most of our members are not coming back. It's on I just kind of lost interest door.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we always have the black camel is the black camel and comes around, but and this is the way it's kind of a good thing, but it's still, more folks are going out than are going by the black camel. So I'm happy to see brothers are here, of course, but I think this is going to help stem that flow a little bit because they're going to say, "Hey, you're the new guy. Okay, great. Hey, we're gonna go here. We're gonna go do this. Come and hang out." And I can't promise someone's not going to throw a raffle ticket in your face, right?
Or seven,
right? But still, you'll have an opportunity to get to know some folks too, and work it around their schedule. Because one of the other things that I tell folks when they come on that I think is important for them. Is some people come on board and they think, oh, I got to do everything, or oh, hey, here, join the Arab Patrol, join this, join that, and they're thinking, oh, I got to. You don't have to do that. Take your time, dip your toe in it, get a couple of clubs or units you might be interested in. Go visit them, just casual. Remember to say no. You don't have the magic word, and I think that's important. I think that'll just work everybody together and then bring those numbers down from who gets suspended because of non-payment of dues.
Yeah.
And I know lodges are working on that too. I know MISPA for sure because again they do a lot of educational, and of course they're doing a lot of stuff in the community too. So those things they'll make because you want people to feel like the dues they are paying is worth the while. So they're getting some bang for the buck back.
They're getting the value out of their membership.
Well put.
That's pretty powerful. As a newer Mason, I've noticed that the groups that are doing the best are the ones that are taking the most time to introduce the organization to their newer members. Now, in that situation, I'm not a Shriner yet, but is there some sort of a do you bring them in and show them each one of the groups, or is it just something that you kind of have to learn on your own? Because that as a
So
new
this
guy,
is actually this is a fun subject.
Yeah. So one time when we can do that is like at the ceremonial. So they usually will have some of the clubs and units there to represent, and the new nobles and their ladies can kind of go around and see. They can see, one of the cruising cushions is cool, amazing inventions on a motorized, thing that's just awesome and goes around and does cool stuff, or this, that, or the other. So there are ways that they can do that. If they come in through the year through like the cold sands, the short form, that's where I think the Bedouins and then working with the top line signers can get them out to see some of those groups, because in the hot sands, our monthly flyer that comes out, it has a list of all the clubs and units. So they could see when they meet, who it is, and a phone number to call. And of course, a lot of people aren't real comfortable with that.
right?
So and I absolutely respect that. So that's where you can have somebody like a mentor, or the Bedouin say, hey, you want the wise ashes? Okay, yeah. Well, what do they do in a nutshell? Well, they sit around and smoke cigars and drink whiskey.
Yeah.
No,
All
and
these
people might like
organizations, I don't know anything about Shriners, but my suggestion for all the organizations, including the ones I'm involved in, would be to take them by the hand and show them each one of those.
Yes.
Because honestly, from my standpoint, I knocked on the door once. How many doors do I need to knock on to get to find
Agreed.
that one place?
You shouldn't. I agree. You should not have to necessarily knock, unless you're just one of those types that just goes, "Oh, I'm going to go do that."
Yeah.
But there are a few like that. But really, you should have the brother there opening the door for you
Right.
and introducing you around, to the club. And that's something we try to reinforce and remind people of. At the stated meetings, where they say, "Hey, if you see a new person around the lounge or something like that, just walk over there and say hi." Funny story about that. Someone came over to me towards the end of the year last year, may even been around towards the end of the festival. Oh, you must be new here. And I was like, I wasn't, don't you know who I am? I have my picture on the wall. I'm not that type, but I was just like, well, no, not really. Maybe just haven't seen you around a little bit though. Well, yeah, I've been in, I go, well, how long you been in? I said, about 25 years. But, it was cool. It was funny. We had a good little banter after that. It's like, wow, okay, that's cool.
It's funny. We have a friend that I brought into masonry. It's actually his best friend, because he stole him from me.
Here we go again.
Kind of running joke. But he, for his investigation, we didn't, but his investigation committee met him at the shrine, and he showed up early. And he walked into the lounge, and they said, "Well, can we help you?" And he's like, "Well, I'm supposed to meet guys here for an investigation, whatever." He says, "I don't know anything about that. Do you like beer?"
That sounds about right.
So it was instantly welcoming to him, and he's
Yeah.
like, "This is where I need to be."
Yeah, and that's important. And I know, and I always, even when I throw out some of those suggestions, I say, I've got to do better with that myself. So, anytime I see somebody new, if they're sitting there, at least go over and say, "Hey, how you doing?" real quick, and just ask them. And sometimes it just turns out to be a guest of a member, which is good, because at least they're seeing, hey, well, these folks, are, because I've heard the other side of it too. Someone comes in new, and they walk in, and everybody just kind of gives them one of those, the little leer there, and it's like, oh, well, we just didn't feel welcome. So thankfully, we hear more of that, where they come over, "Hey, how are you?" And I've noticed a bit of an uptick in that, because like when we're waiting to do the cold stands, and if like the top line signer's not there, it's usually before a stated meeting, so the lounge is usually pretty packing. And they've been packing for a little bit. You bring a new person in there, next thing you got like four, past potentates talking to them and getting them a beverage, or getting the spouse a beverage. One of the wives will come over. So I'm really happy to see that. So if we can continue to do that collectively at the Blue Lodge level, at any of the levels, and even at the clubs and units, because, someone can go to a club or unit meeting and then they just kind of stare at them. But, if they say, "Hey, come on in and have a seat," I know, the ones that I'm involved with definitely try. I mean, it's, sometimes you miss.
I can tell you the best phrase as a guy to walk into the shrine to hear is "Why don't you sit down? Let me buy you a beer." And it's just that simple.
Yeah, and then by then usually you tend not to be alone. So 2 or 3 other folks come over, and next thing you know, you've met Tom and Joe and Tyler and Dean and Tony, or whatever. And then you say, "Oh, where are you from?" Maloma Lodge, Beehive Lodge, Misfit. You could sit down at a table and have like 8 different lodges represented. So
Yeah.
and when the person decides to join, then it's like, well, okay, well, and no one tries to do the posting. It's like, well, what lodge are you closest to? It'd be easier for you to drive on any given night, right? Because like when I used to drive from Bellevue to Waterloo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was part of my decision making process, because that took out 25-minute drive from there, and then just going up to Mizpah. And of course, I knew a lot of the guys at Mizpah, so you find places a little closer, then it's just a lot easier. I think it's less time away, because time, money, time away from the families. The spouses usually like to know, well, how much time and how much money is this going to be as well, which is a fair and very honest question.
Yeah.
And we always try to let them know, okay, there's a little bit of time to invest, and there's a little bit of money, but we'll do our best to make it worth that.
Well, and going with distance, it fits hand in hand with what you're talking about with the shrine, is that you also need to find a place that you're comfortable with and the place you're enjoying. And
Yeah.
the thing we talk about on this show a lot is that everybody's got to find their own little niche. As you were talking about earlier, there's some people that are just right into the ceremony and the memorization and that, and there's others that like other parts. It's the thing that interests me in the shrine is it sounds like there's so many different things that you can plug yourself into, and so you can find what it is. You just have to find it. You have to find that group. You got to take a little bit of a step out of yourself, but that's what we were talking about. Getting people to kind of show you, hey, we've got this, and again, don't think that you've got to join all of it. Just find something that's really cool to you, and that's what this is all about.
Oh, and one of the nice things about that is, at the shrine, there's over 40 clubs and units, right? So there's a little bit for everybody. Some are obviously more active than others. Like Morai is basically a dinner club. You go out once a month and you meet at some place around the Omaha metro area. You have dinner. Tracy and I have enjoyed that. Get to talk to some folks, and then we're not worried about picking out a meal other than off the menu, and nobody's cleaning it up. So so that's also just really important. And you just find, and so even though we've got a lot of clubs and units, you can still create a new club or unit too. Because like Cruise and Cushions, Tony, they've been kicking now for about 7, 8 years?
No,
roughly.
7 and a half.
Okay, 7 years. So that, Dave and some of you guys all of a sudden said, well, damn, that sounds like a good idea, and then it happened, and now it's pretty awesome.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer, and let's make it happen, right?
Dave came to me and he's like, "You want to start a club?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." It only takes 3.
Yep.
You get 3 guys that want to do it.
And then and you've gotten members over time to whereas, and then now you've got clowns in your mobile devices. It's pretty awesome. And so, but what I was saying is that and then gives people an opportunity, because the big wheels, a member of the big wheels. So I got the amazing drift track, have a lot of fun with that, but that's only been around for a few years. So it just takes a spark, and the next thing you know, we've got 10 Shriners putzing around on big wheel. So it can, and I tell my joke with folks, if you wanted to start a shrine club and call you the Shrine Howlers because you want to go out and bark at the moon on Tuesday nights,
you can do
in
that.
the fall, you can do that. And the potentate, of course, they're going to review everything and make sure it's okie dokie. But I don't recall them in my entire time doing any of this, of them saying no.
If you're having fun, there's no wrong way to do it.
Well, and it's like, I like to say for the shrine, it's having fun with a purpose.
Yeah.
The fun is doing, little things like this, the parades. We're getting ready to have the Ralston parade here a little over a week, plus biggest parade in the state of Nebraska. It's an absolute blast. We have a great time with that. Doing the Festival of Trees, or, in speaking events or anything like that, that's the fun. Having the wives go into the balls or stuff like that's fun. The purpose, of course, is supporting Shriners Children's healthcare system. So you get that nice fine balance. And that's what keeps me around, because obviously been doing this for a couple of months. We've all had our days in it, and if you just punch out that one bad day, you don't, you miss out on so much. Because trust me, the people, there's been plenty of time I've either probably caused somebody to punch, or myself sitting there going, hey, it's time. But when you're in it for the long haul and you realize that fun with that purpose, I mean, it's pretty amazing, especially when you get to meet some of the Shrine kids, like Joe Birchel's son, Jordan.
Yep.
Another kid who was just recently the co-captain of the Shrine Bowl game, Carter. Good kid, good people. And when you get to see what we can do to help with that makes all the other stuff worthwhile. So that's a lot of fun. Keeps me. Yep.
So, who has been the most influential Mason in your life?
Wow. I'm going to probably put 2 on that because it's kind of hard to, because it came at different stages in my journey. So, I kind of said before, so I used to be on active duty in the Air Force, and Tracy's from the great city of Fremont, Nebraska, USA. So we would come back and visit, and I would go get my haircut over at this one guy. His name was Charlie Greenfield. I don't know if anybody knew Charlie Greenfield, but he could give a good military cut because he actually went out to the Elkhorn or the Ashland base out there and would give cuts for the folks out there, and kind of stingy about how my hair's cut. And he keeps the grays out, so that's probably right the main reason.
Yeah, me too.
There you go. Woo. I talked to Charlie on and off over the years, go get the cut, like if we're back visiting. And, always noticed on the walls, he'd have, a past master's stuff. And then, because my grandfather was, involved in it, I was aware of it, always kind of had an interest in it. So we actually got stationed back here, went down there, went and got a haircut. And then, I told Charlie, I said, I'm starting to really get interested in joining, and probably before I could get the second syllable out of my mouth, there was a petition. Right? We've all seen it before.
Yep.
And Charlie was a very unfortunately Charlie has passed. So rest in peace, Charlie. Great, funny as hell dude. So that got the ball rolling over at Waterloo Lodge. So that because he was right out there, and so that got the foot in the door, and then. Later on, let's see, so that probably about 2015 range, right about there. So I'd kind of always helped with the membership committee on and off, just as like a club or unit rep, like I would be like a Keystone Cop rep to it when we used to do it like that. Met and started talking with past potentate John Wonder. John's unfortunately passed, and I got to know his wife Cheryl really good. And John was the one that kind of, I don't think I volunteered. I think that was more of a, hey, you're going to do this kind of a thing. He recognized something, probably just got a big mouth probably, but got me involved. And then, when John got sick, him and Cheryl basically said, hey, we want you to kind of start helping out with this. And then 10 years later, still there. So Charlie Greenfield and John Wonder were definitely, because John, really kind of took me under the wing when he could, and showed me some good things for membership things to do. He was one of the ones that helped get the friendship dinners, the info dinners back and going. So that was really important. And then he had some really good plans that unfortunately he wasn't able to see through, but he kind of passed those over to us, and we we're able to do some things with the membership committee through his guidance and his vision, that we think that we've made some improvements over the years, and I hope the folks following are gonna, and I have no doubt they're going to continue to make those improvements and just make it better, especially working with Rita and the marketing and stuff like that. I think that's been something I've been preaching for a long time, and I'm happy to see that that's starting to come through.
If you could sit down at dinner with anyone, past or present, Mason or not, who would it be and why?
So, of course, I would love to sit down again with my parents. My parents have passed, so that would be pretty cool. Kind of ask them, so what you think? But I think that's a no-brainer on that one then. But also along those lines, since, fraternity related, I would like to sit down with my grandfather, because he passed when I was just about to turn 9. And I have his Masonic ring. That was something, and that, didn't know what I would be doing down the road, but so I was able to inherit some of his Masonic memorabilia, and I hold that very dear. I would kind of like to sit down because for a couple of reasons. One, to see what brought him to the fraternity, right? What brought him into the fraternity, and because he was with Zig Azig out at Des Moines. What's really cool is the Central States, of course, is at Des Moines this year. So
yep.
going out there and being at his home shrine is going to be pretty neat. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then the other reason why I would like to talk to him is that he was a Marine and a veteran of World War II, and with 1st Marine Division was definitely involved in a number of the island hopping campaigns.
Yeah.
Okinawa and some of those other things. So he served his time, and I would like to talk to him about that as a fellow veteran. Just to kind of share some of the things. I never got to hear, and I don't know if he ever really talked about it, because obviously some people like to talk, some don't. But I would like to hear about that. So it's a twofold there. So of course I'd love to see my parents, talk to my parents, but that would be neat to share the fraternity side with my grandfather.
Yeah.
So to see where we're
Remind
at.
me before you leave, when we're done recording, I have some Iwo Jima sand over there in our little museum.
Holy crap! Did you get a chance to go?
No.
Were you at, but someone.
No, it was gifted.
Oh wow! Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, we've already kind of touched on this, but what does the shrine and your lodge do to keep members, keep them coming around?
So we talked a little bit about the lodge. Ms. Paul has done phenomenal work, and I'm sure Patrick, heard his thing. Did talk a lot about that. They've really gotten involved with the neighborhood community, which is something that we have been talking about at Ms. Paul for a long time. And it took the right guys like Patrick and some of the other officers that are involved there. And though, they've got the mural on the side of the building. If you want to see something really cool, 48th and Pierce up there in Omaha, Ms. Paul Lodge, on the side of the wall is the neighborhood mural. It is absolutely fantastic.
There's a picture of it that's their header on their Facebook page.
Yeah,
too,
please check it out. So what they do is they've opened the doors to the neighborhood community. They have their meetings there. It used to be a voting booth, so they've done that too. And they've actually gotten a couple members of the community that have joined, and they're actually going through some of the degree work there. So that's really pretty cool. And then one thing I just saw recently, they posted, because each year a lot of the lodges will give academic scholarships out.
Yep.
Well, Ms. Paul did their usual for a young person heading to college, who's involved with DMLA or Jobs or whatever. Well, they actually awarded a scholarship to one of the neighborhood members, a young lady who's working on her master's degree. So I'm like, God dang, that's freaking awesome. So again, getting that out into the community, and because they're literally that used to be the corner store in that neighborhood. And each year they provide some food, some money for the fire station down the hill, so they can buy some meals for the first responders that are working. So that's really good. And then Tangier is doing a lot of the same thing to keep the members engaged. We've talked about the better ones for the new guys, clubs and units getting active, staying active. So that's important. And then part of the engagement is keeping people informed. And I think both have done a good job getting the info. Like if you go to the Tangier Shrine website, it's been revamped a bit here recently, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. The hot sands is really done well, and then they send out a weekly, sometimes almost daily email blast out. They never spam. It's never a spam thing at all. It's always like, hey, this is what's going on.
Yep.
They'll let us know some good news, and then like we just recently got a couple of notices of nobles who have passed. But I think that also helps reinforce to people that, hey, people care. Because, if you're taking a moment to say, hey, look, we did lose a brother. He's been with us for 33 years. He's done these great things. That's a way to recognize people, too. So I think.
Demonstrate that love never ends through the commitment to support past and present service members, the communities that surround them, and the loved ones of those whom we will never forget. Visit deganpage.org for more information.
And we're back. Man, those breaks go quick.
Yeah, that was like 29 seconds, I think, was that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, 29 and a half maybe.
29 and a half.
Actually, I think there's probably 2 commercials that we played.
Probably.
Good.
So maybe a minute.
Thank you, sponsors.
I lost track at 25 seconds. I'm sorry.
Right. You get the attention span of a toddler.
That's right.
Oh, wait, no, that's me.
I was just saying, it sounds like some Shriners.
Okay, so we've
Guilty.
reached a portion of our show where we're going to hit you with random questions,
Okay.
and we're not going to do all of them. We're going to do a handful,
Yeah, no, that's fine. Let's play.
and they can turn into conversations, preferably. So your
Awesome.
first one is 31. 31. That's a 3 and a 1.
How could lodges or masonry in general reach untapped audiences?
That's a fabulous one. To reach untapped audiences, I think it is important for the fraternity as a whole to reach out through how people are getting their information now. And that is through social media. That's through podcasts such as this, through TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that. I know some people have issues about social media and some of that stuff like that. But when you look at your target audiences, that's how they're getting a lot of their information. Mm-hmm. So of course you want to have your websites up to date and running. You want to be able to show them where to go look for you on the Facebook or Instagram, Twitter or X, or TikTok is big too, and you want to be able to use those algorithms to drive the messages out. So I think embrace that, and that's something that we've had a little bit of challenges with some of the more seasoned members. That just think we can do it by word of mouth, right? At one time it was to be one, ask one, because you could never do that because we weren't supposed to go out and recruit. I don't know if you want to say recruit, but at least let people know, hey, here's one for looking for a few good men, right?
Yeah.
It's Semper Fi, right? So I think that's important to embrace what's out there, learn it, how to use it, and then get the various messages out. That's what I'm excited for with Tangier, with the marketing person. She's going to do a real good job for us there.
Yeah, I'm impressed so far.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this is tough. The next one is 32.
Oh, geez.
He's cheating.
Am I sure this is a randomizer? Yeah, it
He's
sure is.
cheating. He keeps going from the back of the deck.
You want to still do 32?
Yeah.
Okay.
32.
We already did this one in the regular.
Okay, never mind.
I got a big mouth. I covered it.
17.
Billy Kilmer.
It's a 1 and a 7.
What lodge would you most like to visit?
Besides Beehive 184 at the Scotch. I mean, that's the obvious answer.
Well, Maloma puts on a nice breakfast before the Millard Parade, so that's
they
always
do.
pretty good. Yeah, they take care of the folks over there on the lineup area.
That is
So-
a real mean breakfast.
Let's see. Goodness.
This can be anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't have to be in our jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you opening up like the third rock from the sun on that. So, we were talking on our 29-minute break, 29-second break. That's what it was. I had the opportunity to go to Ireland last year on a shrine trip, the Potentates trip, and we got to go to the Grand Lodge of Ireland, and I thought that was pretty amazing. So, if we're going to open it up worldwide, then I would definitely like to go to the Grand Lodge in England. That would be pretty neat. So I would enjoy going to there with some brothers, and of course family and friends that
Sure.
go and see it. That would be pretty neat.
All right, next one is 12.
What do you enjoy the most? Blue Lodge, Scottish Rite, York Rite, Shrine, or anything else?
D, all of the above, because I think they all provide something
They'll
meaningful.
bring something different, right?
They all bring something to the table. Excuse me. So obviously the past few years, more time has been with the shrine just because of some of the duties and responsibilities there. So it's definitely a lot of fun there because again, having the fun with the purpose. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy the fun aspect because the fraternity is a lot like America. It's a melting pot. Yeah. America is the melting pot of the world. We get a lot of great people coming in. Assimilate. We can even share some of the cultural stuff like that. But the fraternity is the same way. So I think that's cool. But so it to me it would probably be right now. Obviously, it's the shrine with all the good stuff that's going on. Having a lot of fun. With the trike and the parades, or my neighborhood. Almost took it out today. And then of course, by that melting pot, you get to meet a lot of folks. I've met folks that I would never have met had we not been in the fraternity and then joined the shrine or gone down that road, and a number of these folks I consider very close friends, so that's pretty awesome.
Do you ever feel any regret on spending too much time in one direction versus another, or are you pretty happy with the
No,
direction?
I'm pretty happy with the balance because, again, there's so much that can be done. You could be at the Scottish Rite on Monday, could be at Lodge on Wednesday, could be at the Shrine on Thursday or a Saturday doing something. So, it's important for that balance, and I probably pushed the edge a few times out there.
How long did it take you to figure out that sweet spot?
That sweet spot. So I want to say that probably really started coming into play at that 14, 15 year mark. And that's because when I started getting more and more involved with the membership committee and the time requirements on that, I enjoyed Blue Lodge. I do that. I enjoy Scottish Rite, and the New York Rite, stuff like that. So you have to dial that back because obviously, we've got other responsibilities. So
You learned
was
that
important.
no word about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just about have that tattooed
So
on my
I got about
forehead.
12, 13 more years until I figure
it's
that out.
amazing. Once you figure out what the word no is, then things kind of settle right in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's nice people do ask, hey, would you be interested in,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
something
for
like
sure.
that. I greatly appreciate that because, I've been approached about some things several times. But, it's just not the right time or something like that. Or, it's just, we want to, focus at home or,
Right.
just, again, it's the balance. But,
Yeah.
I can break up that no like a mofo.
All right, we'll do one more, and then we'll start to wrap this thing up. Number 8.
8, Alexander Ovechkin, the all-time leading goal scorer in the National Hockey League, Washington Capitals. OV.
What is the most misunderstood thing about Masonry?
Okay, that's one of my favorites.
We're going to be here for a while. So some of the funny things out there is obviously it's part of the New World Order, going to take over the world. If you're not a 99.44 degree Mason, you really don't know what's going on. If you're not a 33rd Scottish, right, you don't know what's going on. Some of the misconceptions about religion and the fraternity, because obviously, to be a Mason, you just have to have a belief in a supreme being or a higher being.
Yeah.
And that can be of any of the demographics or religions in the world, right? And I think that's one of the other real neat things about our fraternity is that, we look for those values in a man, who may be Jewish or Muslim or Sikh or whatever. We can still say, hey, we can still be a brother because we have that belief. So the people's misunderstandings or just pure, obviously there's a couple denominations out there that aren't exactly on Christmas card lists with the fraternity, so to speak. And again, that's the beauty of America. We can agree to disagree. But that's one of the biggest misconceptions is that, because they think that we're our own religion because we do say some prayers or, we have the altar and we may have holy books there or something like that, whether it's the Christian Bible or, the Torah or, the Quran or something like that. But, again, we're not focused solely on that. That's just the common bound. So people think, like, there was one I saw one time talking about Albert Pike and the Scottish Rite, talking about it's the night of Lucifer, something like that. And you're sitting there going, no, it's not. And then trust me, everybody who I know is in this fraternity, if anything were to be south like that, they would have punched. They would have never gone there. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And then those are things, like I said, that often get the chat. I mean, I've talked with people at the circus about stuff like that. For one guy, I was just like, somebody please come walk this guy over because he would not leave. I mean, just trying to get like, here, would you like a pen? Got a koozie. Just go away. But so that's probably the biggest misconception. And the other thing, one of the other ones though that you hear about is that everybody is an elite aristocrat type,
Oh, yeah.
and then it's a beneficial type society, brother, where everybody's always giving each other a hookup. If it's a judge, it's gonna not not give you a lighter sentence or not prosecute you or stuff like that. I actually find it rather fun to watch some of that stuff from time to time.
It is. I used to
just
try to
giggle at it.
like get my back up about it. And it's anymore. It's just kind of, I don't know. I'm gonna let you believe this for a little while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the just some of the stuff that's out there. And of course you got the movies. Like National Treasure, and you see that stuff, and of course with the FBI agent at the end, you see his ring, and so it's kind of like.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the getting benefits, and with every little bit of misinformation, there's just a little bit of truth to it. And the example I'll give is within the last month, I bought a car from one of the brothers in my fraternity, and the advantage I got from it, I didn't get a really good deal. I got a good deal, but what I got from it is we were talking about it with my wife sitting there. She said, this is just different doing it this time. I said, it is, because I'm sitting across from somebody that I know that I can trust.
Here, trust, good word.
And usually when I'm in that situation, I can't trust. I may even know the individual, but I can't trust them in that particular situation. So there was a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a really cheap car. Don't misunderstand. But it was a lot better circumstance that I trusted the individual I was with.
That's a great analogy, because again, you could trust that brother, because again, we have our obligation that we share, and that's what kind of separates us from some of the other amazing organizations out there. The Eagles. The Elks, you'll never hear me say a negative word about them, because they are phenomenal with what they do and what they do to support their communities. Fabulous. We just, some of the obligations and things like that, hit a little bit more. But yeah, that trust thing, because you could shake the hand of the brother, and that's the word that you can take, and I think that is a great benefit of it. And again, it's a we're always taught all the way up through school, in our jobs, networking is great, because you get to know folks who might be able to help you with a car or HVAC or something, and that goes on in every facet of the world. It's just great to have another group, but then people that you can trust, just that, because you can see the ring, or you see something, and then you get a little chit chat about that. That's huge. That's huge.
All right. Well, let's hit any upcoming events. Do you have any friendship dinners coming up?
No, not right now. We'll get the word out. The next one would be hosted out at the Scottish Rite. It's usually in about that October, November timeframe. And I think the one nice thing that all the heads of the appended bodies and the Omaha Etra, they like to get together every couple of months or so to kind of compare calendars and stuff like that. Because that's another fun challenge, and a good challenge to have, is that there are so many events going on, and they don't want to, put one big thing, like festivals of trees at the shrine is huge.
Yeah.
They don't want to try to overshadow something at the Scottish or the York Rite or, Grand Lodge or something like that. So they really try to deconflict as best they can. So we'll probably find out more about that here in the next month or two. But that's really the only big thing left out there as far as a potential, pure info friendship dinner stuff. But if anybody's ever asking or wants to, a couple of websites they can go to that'll be a very big help is, of course, there's the beashrinernow.com. That's the one from Imperial, from Shriners International, Imperial. And then you can also go to tangiershrine.com. We've got links in there for about membership, and they've really beefed up that website nicely. So there's places where you can go. The Nebraska Grand Lodge and the Iowa Grand Lodges, so just talking about our local states, and the Grand Lodges, they each also have very informative websites. So if someone's interested, go to those sites, take a look at it, and then do your homework, do your due diligence, how you like to go out and vet your information, which I think is absolutely important. And if that sounds like it could be a deal, each of those sites has a place where you can go sign up for information. And I know the one for the Shriners works, because one of the earlier questions, and I totally brain farted on it. What are some of the things you do behind the scenes? So if you go to the beashrinernow.com website, and you fill out the info thing and click send, it will send based off your zip code to that shrine. So anything in our general area will come to Omaha, and then I will actually see that, and then I will reply back. So when we get hits on that, like we had one recently after the show and shine, guy sent some stuff, filled it out, and then we'll contact them and send an email. he was looking more to be like the volunteer versus per se, but we're still talking. We're saying, okay, well, volunteers aren't bad, but have you thought about membership again? But I'm not a super hard seller with that. I'm not going to come at you like the old-fashioned card salesman or whatever. It's like, hey, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. If you want a pen, great. Yeah, it's got a highlighter in the cap, so that's always a cool thing. But yeah, so those are the main things right now, and all of them have branched out really well into the social media world. Just about everybody's got an Instagram, the YouTube. So there's plenty out there to get the info. But yes, I highly encourage anybody and anybody within the community that sees this, pass this out to your networks. Share it, like it, comment on it, send it out there, and if it could drive someone to want to join is a good thing. But then also like sponsors for this, but the events that happen at the various bodies could also looking for a sponsor or something like that. Someone might want to put a tree in at the Festival of Trees, or when the Scottish Rite has their big fundraisers. For the Monroe Meyer Institute. Yeah, that's important. So they're always looking for that type of stuff too. So we love to get our name out there. We love to get our cause out there. Being able to, I've had the honor of sponsoring. I don't like to call them patients. One of our Shrine kids into the hospital system, and I got a crutch pin for that. And I usually wear that when I wear it. I usually wear it close to my heart in a pocket. Mm-hmm. You guys know the guy. That's Jordan Bertzel. Flash, yep, Joe's son, and so that's pretty neat. And the story with that, we met Joe and the family at Buddy Baseball in Bellevue, where they would bring kids with some challenges and whatnot out to play with the varsity baseball or not just the varsity, but the baseball players from Bellevue East and Bellevue West High School, and then the Storm Chasers would send some players out too. Nice. Well, we're out there doing our Keystone Coppin thing many moons ago now. Talking with Joe and talking about Jordan, Jordan with Downs, one of the challenges they get is that the ligaments are often weak. So his knee would dislocate, and it was me, Dean Stockman, Randy Jacod were sitting there, and all of a sudden the epiphany light came on top of our Shriner helmet. It's like, well, damn, we're Shriners. He's got an orthopedic challenge. So, long story short, Joe's chief of the Keystone Cops again this year, so many years later. So it was pretty neat. So that's how they are actually able to pay back with that as well. So those are those little things that help keep me going too. And then, getting to meet some of the other ones. The other night, they had a patient or a former Shrine coach, now an adult, but he came back and spoke at the dinner. Well, after the dinner, I wish he would had it at the regular meeting, but a gentleman who we'd helped years ago, and so that's always pretty cool. That kind of reinforces what we do. And have fun with it. That's all we can do. So a lot out there, a lot to do. Yep. A lot to do.
All right. One thing I want to get out is Beehive is having their ladies at the table. Oh, nice. July 12th at 5 p.m. RSVP to us here at the show or to Secretary and get a hold of our secretary. I'm not sure if he has access to the email, but
just email us.
Email us.
That's a real good event. We've done a couple of them. Miss Paul was able to be at one of those. It's awesome. If you get an opportunity to do that,
we've done two.
Join folks at Beehive.
They're not smooth or they're not pretty, but the food's good.
They don't know any difference. It's great.
That's no way to talk about your ladies at the table.
Hey-oh.
We leave the ladies at the table, man. He's like, is this what you guys do? And they're like, no, not really.
No, this canon is not what we do. But it's a good event. It's fun.
And then we would like, Jim, do you have anything at your lodge coming up or Tyler?
No, not right now. The Ms. Paul's been doing some degree work here recently as well, so happy to see that. And they're just busy. They actually visited the Nebraska Masonic home here last week or two. So it's nice to see them out and about. They're kicking it. So big. One of the shout outs I'll definitely kick out to the brethren over there at Ms. Paul Lodge 300 too. They're really doing a nice job out there in the community.
We've got Nebraska's got a fellowship night where we're going to the Quasar Drive-In Theater in Valley, Nebraska on July 10th. I don't remember the movie starts at, I want to say 8, but you want to get there early because it is free. They're just looking for donations. They're going to have a, I don't know who the donations go to. They hadn't updated the website last I saw, but as a lodge, we just got a bunch of people that are going to go watch The Goonies on July 10th.
Goonies never say die.
That's right.
And then, that's just one of those neat things how to keep everybody engaged is do activities outside the lodge.
Yeah.
Do things outside the shrine or the grand. Get out to the movies or to, I don't know about throwing axes, but be careful if you're going to go do that thing. But or the midnight golf and stuff like that. Just get out of the building a little bit, get out and have some fun. So, yeah, where are we going? The Keystone Cop meeting next month. We're going to be downtown, right? Franco's? Rico's, yeah, Rico's down there right by the ballpark. So that's
Nice.
neat. So great thing. I'm happy to hear about that. That's awesome.
Well, Jim, you have any shout outs?
I'm just going to give a shout out to the family and friends and to the brothers that showed up to my son's wedding. It was memorable. It was great. Awesome time.
I would have showed up, but I didn't get invited, so.
Well, that's why it was an awesome time.
Ka-ching. There you go. There you go.
Oh, God love it. What about you, Tyler? You got another one?
Yeah, I do. I definitely want to give and this is important again as far as keeping folks involved and engaged. I got to give a shout out to my wife Tracy and my daughters Amara, Mackenzie, and Emerson because the girls grew up around this. Running around the circus behind the scenes, always really cool, a lot of good stuff. But they with their busy lives, they've been involved, and they gave me the opportunity to go out and do stuff with it too. So. It's so important to have the families involved, and then that way, they know, okay, it's just not a drinking social club kind of a thing. I'm gonna have to go pick his butt up, So a big shout out, especially to my 4 ladies who are amazing, because our daughter Mackenzie's getting married next October, so we're looking forward to that. Start all the early planning there, checkbook. But we're looking forward to that. She got. They all have great young men, so we're really blessed with that. But so big shout out to the families out there, and please find ways to get involved with your Mason, your Noble, your Scottish Rite, or whatever. There's fun for everybody out there, and I think it's neat, and it's a lot easier when your significant other is reminding you, oh hey, isn't tomorrow's a cop meeting, right? Or we're gonna go do this. When you know that. And it's not that they're trying to kick you out of the house. They're actually going, hey, because I want to go talk to, to Lori and all the other folks. So that makes it a lot easier. So big shout out to the families, and especially to my 4 amazing ladies. I'm very lucky.
All right, my shout out is going out to Brother Paul Stevens, who is with the Grand Lodge of Tennessee, and. We recently took a family trip to Nashville, and he was gracious enough to give us a tour of the Grand Lodge while we were there. And he let us park in their parking lot instead of paying for parking to go downtown on Broadway.
Oh, wow, you just set him up.
He said,
sometimes it pays to know.
So
there's his benefits.
Hey,
so if you're ever in Nashville and you want to go to Broadway, just leave your dues card on the dash. So you probably should ask.
Ask and then leave it. That's duly noted. That's good though. Oh, that's awesome.
Good information.
What about you, Bubba?
I actually do have one.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to Chuck for getting all the parts and building the AR for our raffle.
So we do have an AR. It's in my gun safe right now. I can show you that before you leave.
Oh yeah.
It is a custom AR. It's got a red dot. It's got a custom trigger, 3-pound trigger. It's super nice. It's got some furniture on it. $20 raffles. You can email us here at the show. We do take Venmo. Proceeds do go to Beehive Lodge, 184 Ancient Freight Accepted Masons in Omaha, Nebraska.
4-letter.
Yeah, we're 4-letter guys.
And that's what confuses people a lot too, is between 3 and 4. And I go, not that big of a dip, but still, it kind of is like, so good stuff.
So we'll get there.
When are y'all doing the drawing for that? When's the official drawing?
November.
November, so still time. Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have plenty. We're just in the process of printing tickets right now, so it'll be good. So look, I don't think I can post stuff about guns on social media.
Yeah, we better.
They get a little narrow-minded about that.
I think, what do they call it? A community flag?
Yeah, red,
Pew pew story of my life.
Pew pews, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Nerf gun.
Yeah.
All right.
Hole puncher tickets.
On that note, keep an eye open for that. We'll talk about it on the show. Send us an email. Find us on Facebook. Whatever.
Yep.
Tyler, I really appreciate having you on the show.
No, guys, thank you very much. I've been really looking forward to this, so appreciate it. It's been fun.
So on that note,
Good luck growing it.
travel well, my brothers.
Cheers. It's empty, but it's still good.
At Homeward Handyman Services, we pride ourselves on being honest and giving every job the attention it deserves. Owned and operated by a master mason with 2 decades of expertise in home repair. We are bonded and insured, and we carry the highest standards when it comes to taking care of your home. Whether you need a faucet changed or a light remodel, we can take care of your home improvement needs. Call Michael at 402-915-0824 today for a free estimate.
When it comes to something as important as insurance, it's imperative that you work with an agency who has an in-depth knowledge of multiple insurance products, companies, and guidelines, not just one. We are completely independent agents, and we work for your best interests. We are Mason-friendly. We have locations in Fremont and Elkhorn. We provide policies for virtually all of your personal and commercial needs, including health and dental. Visit our website at www.theinsurancecenterinc.com. We're available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.